Okay. Welcome, ladies. This is real life. So welcome back. Okay. I think we got this. I did Canva presentation slides, and for some reason, it's not working for me. So that is A-okay. It's being testy. For those of you who are on the call that are current clients, can you send me a Voxer message quickly and tell me that you can see the whole presentation slide right now? I am not loving this recording. Perfect. People are sending me messages. One sec. Okay. Just getting confirmation, and then we will go. Dang it. Okay. Let's try this, guys. Perfect. Okay. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we are here. We are recording, and you should be able to see my PDF that I just downloaded, and we will see if, there we go. Okay. So welcome, ladies, to Finish Your Year Energized. We are in, well, it's October 26th. So last time I checked, there was about 70 days left of the year. So there's probably about 65-ish now. And I guarantee you, there are probably things that you mentioned at the beginning of the year that you wanted to accomplish and implement in your year. So if you've been following me, you know, if you've been listening to my podcast, you know I'm the founder of the Mom is in Control podcast. I have a TEDx talk called Dying to be a Good Mother. And my whole philosophy is about helping women feel in control of their lives. When I started my business, it was about helping women feel in control of their parenting, right? Helping you truly understand, what is my child's behavior telling me? Like, why am I yelling? Why won't they listen to me? All of those fun things. And I have a background in social work. I studied child development. I absolutely loved mindfulness, fell in love with it when my oldest son, who's now 13 and he was 4, started implementing mindfulness to really help him self-regulate with his anxiety, the anger, and all of that fun stuff that pops up in parenting. But part of what led me to where I am today, speaking to you ladies, and when I got on the TEDx stage, was talking about dying to be a good mother. I found myself 5 years ago, and if you've heard this story, you probably know where I'm going with this, but I found myself 5 years ago depleted, no energy, no time, actually very little money in our bank accounts. And, you know, I'm looking around and I'm like, well, everyone else is struggling like we are too. So I must be normal. This must be what life is supposed to look like, right? People are like, oh, it's just a phase. You're raising children and blah, blah, blah. But you're here because you want more. Not everybody is willing to create space and invest any time in becoming a better version of themselves. And so because you're listening to this, because you're watching this, you are a game changer. Believe it or not, you are a leader, you are a trailblazer. You might get ridiculed for being different, right? People might judge you in your life and be like, oh man, why, you know, they're shitting on you. That's what Byron Katie says. Like, you're just shitting, like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And so I was doing everything that I should do. I was doing everything that I should do to raise 3 boys, right? Quote unquote, to be a good mother. I was doing everything that I thought I needed to do to be quote unquote successful in my business, right? But I was also living my life in a lot of fear. I was overworking myself because I thought the more you work, the more successful you become. The more you work, the more money you make. The more you work, the further along that you get. And that is a very masculine approach to life. And we're women, we're feminine, but we can live in both the masculine and the feminine energy. So I found myself 5 years ago, my health was deteriorating rapidly. And the ridiculous stories that I would tell myself, like, oh, I'm young, I can afford to do this, and then I will take care of myself later on. Well, what was happening was my abdomen started swelling, and I didn't add a picture here. I'm just turning up my light. This is a trick on how your hair can look extra nice. Oh, that's a little bright. So my abdomen started swelling. So I went to Emerge, did a CT, and, people were starting to ask me like, oh, are you pregnant again? And I'm like, dang, like how in denial are you when your body is changing, you're losing weight rapidly, and you're not even noticing? Like, that's how much I was in like zombie land. So my youngest was a year old. I'm literally breastfeeding, coaching people, working my business. And they did a CT and blood work at Emerge because my back pain was just getting ridiculous. And they said, Heather, you have cancer. And the crazy part was that at that time, it was like permission, like a knowing. And, in hindsight, I feel like I was running away from it. Like there was this unconscious part of me that knew that something was wrong. And I just kept busying myself. Like how many of you identify with busying yourself? You're just like, oh my gosh, I have empty space, so I'm going to put more on my calendar. Like post in the comments. I want to know if you do that to yourself, because I hear this a lot. And sometimes, so today my intention is to help you kind of not do that and to be more in alignment. Yes, guilty. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to talk about like why traditional time management is slowly killing women. And I know that's like a very bold statement to make, but the whole point of why I labeled this workshop, Finish Your Year Energized, is because there are many, like I am here to tell you that you can raise a family, you can work, you can own a business, you can stay home, you can do whatever the F you want and feel energized and feel content and feel fulfilled in your life. Okay? I don't really see many people talking about this topic. And it took me almost literally dying. And that's a whole nother story. And I talk a lot about like my recovery and stuff on the podcast, so you can check that out. But it took me almost dying to give myself permission to live and feel alive. And with feeling alive comes energy. And with energy comes passion. And with passion comes purpose. And then when your children are having tantrums and meltdowns, you can see it with clear eyes, right? So this is not about you quitting your job and moving to Bali and selling everything and downsizing. I mean, that might be like a desire that you have, and that's great. But what I want to teach you is that you can actually shift the way that you think and feel right now without making like drastic life decisions. And this is an evolution. It's a process. It's a lifestyle. And I know there's a lot of you that I've worked with in the comment box. So if you're like, if you're like, I agree, I've seen results, then post in the comments that I'm not some crazy lady, because I'm not all about like teaching people how to like get rich quick schemes type deal. Like you got to do the work, right? So I believe traditional time management is slowly killing women because it's all about the time, right? This is not about managing your time. This is about managing your energy. So if you want more energy, we have to look at that first. We can't just look at time. So 24 hours in a day, right? There's 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There's no human being on this planet that has more time than you. Right? So how do people, you look at people, you're like, how do you do it? We have to manage our energy. We have to look at ourselves as a human being. We're not some freaking robot just checking things off the list. But that is what most of you are doing, which is why you feel dead inside, which is why you feel numb. And when you do that, you're going to project out into the world. You're going to project on your children, and you're going to yell and scream and be like, well, Heather, that's the only way I can get their attention. And I say, no, that's bullshit. You're going to feel disconnected in your relationships. You're going to feel there's going to be conflict at work. You will actually, if you own a business, you're going to be like, I don't have the energy to run a quote unquote successful business. So we're going to talk about some of that now. So some of you may have seen this before, but I believe this needs to be said again and again and again. And I'm a huge fan of pen and paper. So grab some pen, grab some paper, take notes if you want. And this is just a visual of what I call SAT, S-A-T, Sustainable Ambition Theory. And if you notice, because look at, I'm just so clever, abundance, thrive, momentum, and survival, those are ATMs. Okay. So if you need to remember this, you can remember SAT and ATMs. Dun, dun, dun. Awesome. Morgan says, I can't imagine my life without this approach now, changing the way I see everything. And I am so much more alive today. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Okay. Sustainable ambition theory. All right, guys, this is a little triangle. So here's like my theory, my philosophy, and I hope it gives you some aha moments. And if it does, I want you to post it in the chat box. Okay. So we have many aspects of our life. You have parenting, you have relationships, money, time, energy, career, passion, purpose, health, whatever. So many little buckets, right? Little cups. Like I have all these cups on my desk. Every cup represents like a portion of your life. So let's just say you feel amazing in your career. Like you absolutely love what you're doing. It sets you on fire. You're like, you know what, Heather, I'm probably in like a thrival or an abundant state. And I will explain this in a second. But in parenting, you're like, I'm in survival mode. Okay. This is possible. You can go up and down this ladder. So at first I was calling this a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then I'm like, this doesn't represent your needs. This represents what level or stage you are at in your life. So oftentimes when my clients come to me, they're in survival mode. And what you will say to me is, okay, Heather, like I'm yelling all the time. I'm putting out fires all the time. Like I don't have any time for myself. I feel like I'm constantly restricted. Like I couldn't even consider going to a yoga class or a 10-minute walk or anything like that. And in other areas, you might feel like you're higher on the scale, but the truth is you might be living in survival mode in all cups of your life. So you have like 10 teacups on the table. They're all empty. Right? Some people might have 10 teacups on the table and 3 are full. So understand that if you are living in survival mode, there is possibility to get out of it. But in order to go to the next level of your life and to feel alive and create some momentum, you have to do the work. You have to take action in order to get there. And so today I'm going to tell you what action you can start taking to get you there. So in my case, I was hustling and I would have said my marriage was okay. You know, parenting, I was teaching parenting. So I want to say it was okay, but because I felt depleted in other areas of my life, I was actually in survival mode in some aspects of my parenting because I was yelling a lot. And the reason why I was yelling is because my cup was empty. Like I felt empty inside. So my health, I actually had to put that little crisis circle at the bottom because I wasn't even on this scale, right? When your health gets into a crisis state and it's do or die and you have to call 911 or go to the emergency room, you're not even on this scale. So when I'm looking around going, how did they do it? How did they look so happy? How did they get there? I can't compare my crisis state to somebody else's abundant state. There's a lot of things that they had to do to get from crisis to abundant. And sometimes you're going to have to do, like you have to show up and you have to do the work. Okay, so someone asked, what does momentum look like? So momentum looks like when you start to implement these tools and strategies, and we'll talk about what those can be down below. You're like, okay, I got this, right? Like you're getting this like state of momentum. You're like, okay, I have this little area of like breath. You're not just like, oh my gosh, I got to put out this fire. I got to put out this fire. You wake up sometimes, like momentum can look for people. I help them like implement a morning routine. It might look like for you, you wake up, you're starting to wake up naturally and you're like, I have energy. Oh my gosh, like I can do this. You'll start to see the energetic shift. Now, what I see where people sabotage themselves is they will go into momentum and they're like, I'm good now. I don't need to do this work anymore. And then they stop, and then you will drop back down to survival mode. And sometimes you'll do the work and you're in a momentum state, or you're like up into a thrival state. And then all of a sudden, the whole house will get the flu, or you get sick and you're like, oh, I drop back down to momentum, or I drop back down to survival mode. My philosophy is mom is in control is about helping you feel in control internally. So when you drop back down to a survival state because life happened to you, you feel you're like, I know exactly what I need to do to get back up into momentum and into thrival because I've been there before, right? So you're like, oh, shit hit the fan. That's okay. I know how to change this. I know how to get there. Yeah, so someone said, I feel like I switch between survival and momentum a lot. So I want to make a point about belief systems and self-sabotage. So this is where I believe coaching is essential. I would not be where I am today in my life. And I would say 9 out of 10 areas of my life, like most of where I'm at, I'm either in a thrival state constantly or, jumping into abundance. But I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. This is where our lineage stuff comes in. And so all of you, or most of you that are listening, are women and mothers. And what happens is, like, this is deep, deep work, right? Like, I'm a very woo-woo, spiritual, energetic person, and I love talking about energy and belief systems. But let's just say it, and we could do this, right? Like, I grew up with a mother who was like an amazing human being, but like survival mode was their identity, right? Like that was her identity, and like my grandmother's identity and things like that. And you look around at other people and they're like, how dare you, right? This is where the belief system and the story of like self-care is selfish. So you're like, I could never do that because my mother or my mother-in-law, or it's always women shaming women, which is, I fucking hate that trend. Like it's ridiculous because, and I'll talk more about why later. But my point is, and I've experienced this in my own life, when I'm like moving up to like a thrival state or an abundant state in my life, or like my money, my time, my energy, and you're like, oh my gosh, my whole life I've been in debt, or I've never had enough, and now I do. This is why people who win shit tons of money in the lottery lose it, because they have this like low vibrational energy and they don't know how to raise the vibration and like how you become in your life. So sometimes we'll go from one to the other and you're noticing like, oh, I'm not breaking through that glass ceiling, right? These little lines are like the glass ceiling. To get there, it's very uncomfortable. And you have to have the support team around you and the tools and strategies to be able to know how to dive in. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. I could literally talk about this for hours, but I'm not going to, because I will, I don't want to waste your time. Okay. So I'm going to educate you today. We're going to talk about action steps, and then we're going to talk about next steps. So some of the things that you'll hopefully walk away with: how to manage your emotions on a daily basis, how to say no to what is draining you and yes to what is serving you, how to hold, this is my favorite thing. I literally salivate when I'm talking about this. How to hold energetic and time boundaries with people so you don't feel drained by their demands and negative energy, and how to create space for your big dreams, the life you want to be living, parenting, relationships, health, and career. Okay. Pen is the tongue of the mind. How many of you resist journaling? How many of you are like, OMG, I just can't create the time or space to do it? I am going to give you space right now. 4 minutes. 4 minutes is a really, really long time, believe it or not. I want you to sit there and write out, and don't worry, like I'm human too. I have to practice what I preach. And when I have resistance come up, I'm like, all right, Heather, what would you say to a client? So I want you to sit in your journal and I want you to just where you're at right now. This is something that I use even though I'm still in, I use this strategy all the time. It's not like once and done. I want you to ask yourself, what do I want? What do you want in your life? Okay? Magic wand. I don't care if your husband's an asshole and you just gave birth to a child yesterday and you think, oh, Heather, this is impossible. No. What do you want? Write it down. I'll give you a few minutes. You can just write, I want at the top. Look at so crazy. I want. I know, I'm so professional. I want. Write it down. 2 minutes. Good. I find it hard, someone says. Great. That's when you know you're getting good. That's when you know you're getting close to the good stuff. It's not hard. It's uncomfortable. And your body is trying to keep you safe, right? It thinks, it's the fight or flight responses coming in. It thinks, oh gosh, she's in harm's way. Bring it on. Bring it on. Bring on that discomfort. I want. Write it down. Do you want a bath? Do you want a glass of water? What do you want? Write it down. Just write down everything you want, guys. Everything. From the little things to a glass of water or a bath or space for yourself. You don't need to know how you're going to get it, but there's a reason why you're on this call. You want something more. You do know what you want. You need to stop telling yourself that. I don't know is another form of resistance. It's fear. Oh shit, if I actually write down what I want, I might have to actually take action on it. And that is even more terrifying. I'm going to tell you a story. So for those of you who want me to shut up, just like put mute on or something so that my voice is not distracting you. I'm in the process of writing a book. And I'm going to talk about resistance and knowing what you want. When I talk about listening, I talk a lot about listening to the voice, right? Listening to that deeper knowing inside of you. And 15 years ago, I was like, I'm going to write a book someday. I don't enjoy writing. I love coaching. I love podcasting, but I've never been that person to like sit and write, whether it's in a journal or just type it out. Like I need to move, right? And so writing for what I perceive to be long periods of time terrified me. So this like ache, this soul ache, as I call it, just kept coming up, right? So when you write it out and you're like, what do you want? And you're not listening to your ego, but you're listening to the under voice that's like, I don't know what I want. And I'm like, well, if you did know what you want, what would that be? And you're like, well, I want to feel alive. I want whatever. So I decided, okay, I'm going to write this book. And this whole journey has been such a great journey to my soul, great journey. You know how they always say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I've learned so much about myself, like on a deeper level, feeling more connected to myself. And it's not so much about the message, it's just about who I am and like shedding old beliefs and old stories. And then, you know what? Recently, I've had to surrender and surround myself with people who are like, I know where you're going and I can help get you there. And these people are like, I know exactly what you're struggling with. And this is what this is what you need to do. And it felt so good to me to have these people around me. And part of me was, I was struggling with this belief of like, I need to suffer, right? Everyone tells you if you write a book, you need to suffer. It needs to be hard. It's like birthing a baby, all this BS people tell you. And I'm like, why do we choose suffering in our life? Why? Like, why is it like, I'm going to suffer. This is going to be hard. I'm like, where's this ease and flow? And for me, Jenna's like, I knew you were going to make me do this. I have less and less resistance. My journaling. Yes. Cool. Awesome. So it's about getting to who you want to be and how you want to feel, right? And if for me, and we'll talk a little bit about this after, for me, I want to feel alive. I want to feel strong. I want to create ease in my life, right? So if I want to create more ease, how can I make this process easier? Well, I have to have like really brilliant people around me so that when I show up and I say, this is hard, I can't do it, they're like, no, this is how you can make it easy. And so I've listened to my intuition, I've listened to my gut, and I've had to really stare at this belief in the face that's saying, you are a failure, Heather, if you don't like sit down and traditionally write this book. Like if you use an audio and you have to like verbally process things, you're a failure. And I'm like, is that true? No, it's not. And if I want to live this life in alignment with how I want to feel and create more energy, then I need to change up my story. And so that's essentially what I'm trying to teach you guys today. So finishing your year energized is truly about looking at, what do I want? And if you don't know what you want and something's hard for you, then you get somebody to help you figure that out. And I might be one of those people, and I'll talk about how I can help you do that at the end. But my point is, even if you're just sitting with a friend and you're like, hey, let's journal together. Can you ask me some questions to help me figure out what I want? Once you've figured out what you want, so let's go to the next step. Once you've figured out what you want, I want you to ask yourself, why do I want it? And go back and just pick one core desired feeling. So Danielle Laporte in the Desire Map talks a lot about core desired feelings. So again, when I was writing out what I want, I'm like, I want this, I want this, I want this. And I'm like, why do I want it? Right? Why do I want these things? I'm like, I want to feel alive. I want to feel strong. I want to feel energized. These were kind of like the feeling words that were coming up for me. Well, I was looking at my calendar and the actions that I was taking on a daily basis. I'm like, well, no wonder why I'm depleted, overwhelmed, miserable, exhausted, and near death. If I want to feel alive, energized in my life, I'm not doing any of those things to get there. So I'm going to show you my next beautiful document. So can anyone identify with the number 10, this raging lunatic monster? That's actually kind of what I look like in the morning sometimes. Yes. Awesome. And the number 1, you're Zen. Okay. So I call this an alignment temperature. An alignment temperature is when you are asking yourself. So this is like a scale that I do with myself, and I ask my clients all the time, where am I on this scale? So I'm going to be honest. Okay. I was living most of my life, like when you go through trauma in your childhood and trauma in your teens and 20s and 30s, whatever, I was probably living most of my life as a child around a 6. And then more shit kept happening to me. And I was about a 7 or 8. And when I became a mother, I was probably a chronic 7, 8. Okay. So I was used to being a 7 or 8. I didn't know what it meant to be a 1 or a 2. I didn't know what it felt to be like, feel alive in my body and in my mind and in my life. I didn't know what it felt to be in alignment. I had no idea. I had chronic fatigue forever. And people would just blame it on life circumstance. But I remember sleeping through high school. I remember I was a very I guess they would label me as a depressed teen, but I had no sense of self. I had no sense of what lights me up. And I was surrounded by very negative energy. And so we're going to talk about this right here when I'm going to do the emotional guidance scale. This is from the book Ask and It Is Given by Abraham Hicks. So my point with this alignment temperature is you have to ask yourself, where am I on the scale? So my goal for you, the way that I coach people, is I want you to get to a 1. How do you feel at a 1? Okay. So I know what my 1 is. I know when I feel amazing and alive and energized. And I would say probably most days I'm at a 2 or maybe 3. And when I get to a 3, I'm how do I get back there? So this is the philosophy. So if you're used to a 7, let's just say on average you're used to a 7. How can you stay at a 7 most days? And then it's how can you get to a 6? How can you get to a 5? How can you become better than yesterday, right? So my goal for you is, if all you've known in your life, going back up here, let's just say 7 or 8 represents survival mode. If that's all you've known in your entire life, going to the next levels, you're going to be I've never been there. I've never been to this place, right? So just know that there is so much more than you are giving yourself credit for. You are stronger than you think. So this is one tool or strategy that I do constantly. I ask myself, check in with myself every morning and probably 100 times a day. I'm where am I on the alignment? Where am I on the scale? Am I at a 10 or a 1? Let's just say I had a ridiculous day, crazy things happened to me, and I'm so far removed from myself, right? 1, you're grounded. I'm okay, I'm a 7 and 8. What do I need to do to get back there? Right? Because I've taught myself the tools and the strategies. I've had mentorship. I've implemented them. I've committed and devoted to living my best life. So I'm okay, I know what I need to put on my calendar to get back to a 1. I know what I need to do. This is energetic time management, ladies. This is how you manage your energy and not your time. Does this make sense to people? Does this make sense? Oh, I'm off. What do I need to do to get back to grounded, right? If you're at a 7 and you just keep piling more shit on top of you, you're going to be at a 10. You're going to explode on your family. Things are going to fall through the cracks, and then you're going to ask yourself, why is everything falling apart behind me? It's because you're falling apart. Okay. Emotional guidance scale. So we are, believe it or not, I don't know if you figured this out yet. I need to get yourself, get yourself to 1 for Dummies. Awesome. I am your 1 for Dummies coach. I will be talking to you about how I can support you with that towards the end. But it is very true. Guys, I literally had to I had strategically be what do you need to do today? And I'll teach you some of those strategies of how I got started before we wrap up. Emotional guidance scale. Okay, on average, if you were a 7, if you said I'm a constant 7 and 8, what number do you feel that you're at? I might be able to make it a little bit bigger for you guys. Are you at a 1? Are you oh my gosh, I feel joy, passion, enthusiasm, positivity? Or are you closer to the bottom of the scale where you're a 17, 18, 19? Anger, rage, hatred, jealousy. Know that your alignment temperature from 1 to 10 is going to coincide with your emotional guidance scale. Okay? And that's okay. I'm telling you, just because you're at the bottom doesn't mean we can't get you back up to the top. My point is, it's a low vibration. If you want to manifest amazing things in your life, okay, you have to get back up in the green sometimes. Remember when I was talking to you about the little pyramid? And I said to you, oh geez, now it's too big. And I said to you, sometimes you could be in an abundant state and you'll drop back down, right? You got to get yourself back up and keep moving, create the momentum, keep going up, implement daily strategies to do that. It's the same thing with this, right? You'll be walking along your life. You're like, I'm having a great day. I feel great. And then all of a sudden someone comes over and you're triggered and you drop back down. This is energy management. What do I need to do to heighten my energy to get back up there between the 1 and 7 range so that I can feel alive and in alignment with what I want? So this is a beautiful scale. This was given from the book Ask and It Is Given by Abraham Hicks. If you have no idea who Abraham Hicks is and their books, check it out. They have amazing meditations, fabulous strategy. So this is something I implement. Sometimes it's Abraham Hicks, sometimes it's other meditations. This is how I wake up in the morning, and this is how I go to sleep at night. I literally listen to things, and I will put wireless headphones on, and I'll just put my phone on the other side of the room so it's not right next to me, and I listen to it as I wake up. Sometimes, obviously, I have to get up, turn it on, lay back down, or I'll sit up even for 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm listening, trying to bring the vibration up in my thought process. And they say if you listen to this when you go to bed too, it's helping your body recalibrate, rest, and restore. So I'll tell you a little secret. Abraham Hicks has this app that you can put on your phone. It's like getting into the vortex. It cost me $15. Best $15 I ever spent. When I was diagnosed, I came home from the hospital. I put my headphones on, and I already had this app on my phone. And there was an app that said, it was something about physical well-being. And for 15 minutes, this woman is drilling into my brain with a soothing voice and some creepy music saying, your body knows how to heal itself. And at that time, I didn't believe it because my brain, my thoughts were at a 22. Fear, depression, powerlessness. I was like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And when I had this very, very low vibration, I didn't even know I was doing this, guys. When I had this very, very low vibration, I kept listening, right? I'm like, okay, if I'm listening to a meditation that's vibrating at the 4 level, I listen to it on repeat for I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. Most of the day when I was waking up, I had it on repeat. And I'm like, your body can heal itself. My body can heal itself. It's so powerful. Guys, imagine we just pulled out a little Japanese maple in our front yard last night, and the roots were ridiculous. It was all over the place. Imagine you have been given some of these deep, deep, deep beliefs on you need to be exhausted, miserable, burnt out. How dare you feel good and alive and energized while you're raising these children and loving your life? These deeply rooted beliefs take time, but you need to be diligent and consistent with the actions that you are taking in alignment with how you want to feel. Okay, so more action steps, because I always say action is where the magic happens. So step 1, I want you to write this down, take out your phone and screenshot this. You can even screenshot it, put it on Instagram and tag me. I'm at Mom is in Control, and I will, I'll share you on my little feed, but screenshot this so you can go back to it, or screenshot it on your computer or something, but you're welcome to post it on social media if you want. Just tag me. I'm at Heather Chauvin on Facebook or at Mom is in Control on Instagram. So this is something that I dive deeper into in my coaching. But step 1, I want you to brain dump. So we'll do it now. Let me see how much I have left for you guys. Okay. And then we'll talk about how I can support you in the next step, and we'll do open Q&A. Let's do a few minutes of this. So what I want you to do, actually, does anyone want to, can you just say me? Does anyone want, I'll walk them through this step. I can do a hot seat with them. It doesn't have to be too extreme either. I'm not going to. Okay, let's do Michelle. She said yes first. So Michelle, let me find you here, and I'm going to, I have to hit allow to talk. So just give me a sec. Oh crap, there you are. Oh, everyone, there's people jumping off and on. One sec. It's not letting me. Okay, give me a second. This is, annoying. Okay, Michelle, I think you can unmute yourself, or I can unmute you. I unmuted you. There you go.
Good morning.
Good morning. So let's do a little hot seat for this these 6 steps.
Okay, my palms are sweating. I didn't realize it would literally be hot and I'd be on. Okay, good morning.
It's a hot seat. So let's just do one area of your life where you feel completely overwhelmed.
Like my children arguing right now? That would be one.
Yeah, this is life. I'm surprised my kid isn't knocking on the window anymore. It's all good. Do you want me to still do this with you? Are you good?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I'm like, hey, mom is in control. We're all moms. It's all good. So my philosophy is step 1, brain dump.
Okay.
So if you need to lock yourself in the car for 30 minutes to do this, like after this call, do it. Mm-hmm. If you're like, I'm going to the grocery store, and then you actually just sit in the grocery store like parking lot and then walk in, I'm like, guys, we can create space. We just need to implement, right? We need to find the pockets of time. Sometimes I say like I'm going to the washroom and I just lock the door if I absolutely have to. So I used to do that a lot. I don't do it so much anymore. So brain dump everything that you have. So where on this are you getting stuck? Where do you feel overwhelmed when it comes to prioritizing and creating the energy in the space? Just dump it out for me.
My house is in disarray, and I've had 3 floods in 2 years. I don't deal well with unorganization, and my son though is ill and sick, and we're trying to take him to Toronto Sick Kids. Mm-hmm. So I'm not even at work, and I'm like spinning and spiraling, and because things happen, and he gets sick all the time, and you have a plan for that day, and it does not go because he sleeps for 4 hours or he has a fever. And I just feel like I'm still not getting anything done, and I don't know why I'm stuck on this, but I am. And then I just get frustrated when things aren't the way they're supposed to.
Perfect. Okay. I'm just going to mute you for a second. I'm going to talk about what you just said, okay?
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So that's very common. And I just want to say thank you, Michelle, one, for like allowing me to unmute you. And it's you're like, oh my gosh, it's all over the place, and that's okay. So that's what I'm here for. Do this. But again, it comes back to like, oh my gosh, life is throwing so much at me and there's so much emotion, right? Like my child is sick and like I have to still take care of everybody else and I'm not even working. And then there's shame in that of like, I'm not even working. Like, why can't I keep my shit together? So understand it's not you. I always say behavior is a language, and I want you to truly realize that this is not us. When I was like in my deepest like moments of grief and shame and depression and like, yuckiness, I was blaming myself. I was like so low on that emotional guidance scale. And when I was blaming myself, I'm like, this is not how I want to feel. I don't want to be beating myself up and verbally abusing myself mentally. So I started writing out like my brain dump. So step 1, I'd be like, I want all these things. And then I would write out like my to-do list. Like I have to do laundry. I have to take the kids here. I have to budget. I have to do that. Please understand that this takes time and this is a rinse and repeat cycle. This is not a one and done. Like you can't just do this once and then be like, okay, my life is good now. So I tell people to plan out their whole week. And for me, when I started, that was overwhelming. So then I say, just plan out a day. But what you're not putting on the to-do list is you. So once you've brain dumped, then you prioritize on that day. So we're recording this on a Friday. So let's just say we're planning our day for tomorrow. I'm also a huge fan of the Passion Planner, but to be honest, you could probably go online on Pinterest and print one off for free. Actually, I know you can go on passionplanner.com and they actually have it for free, but this is not rocket science. There's many ways you could do it, but just go online and find a calendar that has the actual date, like the times, right? So you have like from like the 24 hours in a day and it's every single hour. The reason why I like this is because I literally have it in front of me if I've pre-planned and I'm sitting at my desk and all of a sudden I'm like, why am I on Facebook? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? Or I'm walking into the laundry room and I'm like, what the heck? What? And then I go to laundry and then I'm like, oh, now I got to do this. Now I got to do that. Now I got to do it. And I'm all over the place. So if I have a day planned out and I'm my number one priority, and I've actually put working out on my calendar, meditating, journaling, and I'm telling you, you can do a 10-minute workout, literally some jumping jacks and push-ups. Your kids can crawl all over you. You're going to hate it when you start. And you can meditate for 5 minutes using an app like the Abraham Hicks one. You could use Headspace. You could go on YouTube and put 5-minute meditation and just close your eyes and breathe. Go for a walk for 2 minutes. There's so many things, guys. And I know I don't know what I want. The resistance is going to come up really hard for you right now. But if the one thing I'm going to say to you in this process is you have to realize that your like core desired feeling, right? So if I want to feel strong, actually, let's just use energized because that's what this workshop is called, energized. If I want to feel energized and I'm looking at how I planned out my day, traditional, right? Okay, yeah, Heather, I have my calendar and I have my hours and I planned it out and I'm like, boom, there it is. And I have all my to-dos on there. That's traditional model. But where are you putting the actual action steps on there that are going to allow you to feel energized, right? Thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie put the free PDF download link for the Passion Planner in the show notes below. So thank you, Stephanie. So where, right? Where if I want to feel energized and I know moving my body a little bit is going to help me feel energized. If I know, okay, going for a 5-minute walk, 10-minute walk is going to help me feel energized. Where is that on my calendar? Because if I don't physically put that on my calendar, it's not going to happen because I'm not going to think about it because it's a habit to forget these things, right? So this is if you're in survival mode, yeah, there's going to be resistance there. So you put it on the calendar. Of course, you have to follow through. If you don't do it, no one else is going to do this for you. That's the harsh reality. The last thing that I do is a nightly check-in. So I review my calendar for the night, for the next day. And I ask myself, is there do I need to send a reminder email to anybody? Do I need to check in with anybody? And if I'm like, you know what? Oh my gosh, I came down with a cold, or I need to move this. Like this isn't in alignment. Then I can shift that. Or I ask myself, wow, I have so much on my calendar. I keep doing this to myself. Okay, by Thursdays, I'm feeling really depleted. I need to shift how my days are a little bit. This is the process of what I do. Okay. All right, girls. So I'm going to open it up for Q&A. But before I do that, I am going to tell you how I can be of service to you. So traditionally, I have been working with women in my mastery program, which is an 8-month intensive program. You get one-on-one coaching with me. It's group, all of that stuff. It's a large investment. And what I mean by investment, I mean money, time, and energy, right? You got to show up. That's a big thing. But the number one thing that I receive from people is this energetic time management process that I have kind of created and coined. And it has been a game changer for women. So I thought, how can I still do this in a way that is, of course, it's still an investment because you have to invest. Like what I mean by invest is you're here, you're investing an hour of your time to show up, right? So if you're investing in watching this, then invest in implementing. That is where the magic's going to happen, right? You don't just read books and say that was enjoyable. You have to do the work. And that is like the action part is the big part in the law of attraction and the self-help world that people highly underestimate. So you look at people and you're like, how did they get there? they've taken action. And there's like, I could literally talk to you guys all day about strategies. And this is not just for women who are in survival mode. This is also for corporate CEOs or whoever, right? We can talk about revenue generating activities that you need to be doing, energy generating activities, like all of these things, right? So what I want you to do, if you're interested, is go to heatherchauvin.com/intensive. So the way that I've structured this program is it's a 4-month pocket of time, but this is the beauty, okay? I didn't want you to just buy something and then do it on your own time, because you're not going to. Like, let's just be honest. So what I've done is I have different days. So I'm going to show you where it is. Okay, so you're going to attend live. So I have 3 on the calendar right now. And if you can't attend those, I will be doing some in the future. The next one we have is Friday, November 9th, and then we have Thursday, November 29th, and Saturday, January 5th. So you can attend, you can register for any of those. So let's just say you apply. So once you go to heatherchauvin.com/intensive, you'll see a video, and then there's actually an application. The reason why I have an application is because I want you to apply. I want to know, what is your vision? I don't just want to be like, buy now and then you buy my product. Like, I deeply want to know, what is it you're struggling with, so that I can cater this to you. So once you go and you apply, then I'm personally reading your application, and I will respond. So if you ask questions on the application, I will personally answer your questions. And then I'll send you a link to register if I'm like, you know what, this is a good fit. Because another reason why I have an application is because I'm one of those people who, if I don't feel like this is a good fit for you, I'm either going to give you a referral or like tell you to go somewhere else. I'm not just going to be like, yep, you applied, you're automatically in. So the reason why I do that is because if you're having any like, is this a good fit for me? I don't know. Then just write that down on your application, and I will personally respond. And if I feel like you will gain benefit from it, then I will give you the link to register. So, obviously if you apply, it's not going to harm anything. It doesn't cost you a penny. So you can go to heatherchauvin.com/intensive and fill out that application. And then once you fill out the application, once you've received your link to register, you automatically start right away. So on the actual day, the 4 hours, we're jumping on Zoom together. I'm going to be here. I am your coach. You are going to ask, like, there's going to be a little pre-coaching form if you have any questions. We're going to answer your questions, but I'm going to show you my whole process from start to finish, right? But the beauty of this is there's a little bit of prep work. So for those of you who are saying to me, honestly, Heather, I have no idea what I want, you're going to jump into my module that's going to help you design the life that you do want. So you're going to go through, you're going to do that work, and then you're going to show up to the intensive, and I'd be like, okay, you're going to know what you need for the intensive. You're going to bring your passion planner or whatever your calendar looks like, and we're going to do this work together. It's like we're getting in the mud together so that you can walk away from that intensive with your plan and your action step. Now you're going to say to me, great, Heather, but what if I don't implement? Well, this is, again, part of the reason why we have the live. So you're like, okay, you're getting a babysitter on the 9th or the 29th or whatever, and you're carving out that time. So in real time, we're doing this together. So now you have the plan, right? But what do you actually do when you're like, damn it, now I need to implement? So you're also going to gain access to a private Facebook group. You're going to be partnered up with an accountability partner. So you and somebody else in the group can get together. You can hold each other accountable to taking the action together. You can ask your questions in this private Facebook group. Once you're in this Facebook group asking questions, I will personally read them and respond as well. And there's also going to be other people in the group who are seasoned at this process. So you're not only getting me as a coach, but you're also going to get other mentors that can support you who have done this, and they might have other resources or just another perspective, because again, it takes a village and I can't be all to everybody. So you're not just getting me, but you're getting other people who are where I'm at or above in business, in health, in relationships, in money, and time and energy. So it doesn't matter where you are in your life. So whether you're like, oh, I just can't keep my shit together at home, great. We'll start with organizing the home. If you're like, oh my gosh, my business is so overwhelming, I have no idea how to focus on the high leverage action, great. We will focus there. If you're like, my health is suffering, great. We'll focus there. So whatever your focus is, that's where the magic happens. Now, for those of you who have waited patiently and you are still here, I have some bonuses for you. So for right now, because this is kind of not a beta test, but I want to be of service to you of how can I give you the highest value for this program so that you can walk away going like, dang, what I paid for that, I feel like I gained so much clarity. I'm also offering you a one-on-one session with me. And this is going to happen about 30 days after our intensive, okay? So I'll send out an email and I'll say, here's a link for you guys to get on my calendar. You and I, it's kind of like an accountability coaching session. So you can utilize that opportunity as well if you want. Okay, so for those of you who are listening to this and you're considering joining the one in November, so this is Friday, November 9th, right here. I have another bonus for you. I'm going to include all 3 intensives. Yay! Okay, so typically this program includes one intensive time, like one day, right? One of these days. You get to pick one. But for those of you who are going to register for the November, you get November 29th, and January 5th. Oh my God. Saturday, January. I haven't even drank my whole coffee. I've only had a few sips. Saturday, January 5th. So you should be a master at this process by the time this is done. So the reason why I am telling you this is because you don't actually have to attend all 3 of those intensives. Attend the first one or the second one or the third one, whichever one works best for you. And you could pop on those other ones and just ask a quick question and then pop off. So that gives you an opportunity as well to pop on, get some coaching, and then drop off. But you gain 4 months access into the program. And guess what, guys? It's only $397 times 4. I've created it to be very affordable for you. Yes, I know it's amazing. And I'm telling you, it's not going to be at this price point in 2019. So I want to be of huge service to you. And yes, I can't give away the farm for free because you can show up to a free webinar and be like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? So imagine what happens when you actually invest. Money is energy. So when you put a financial commitment to something, you're more apt to show up and you're more apt to implement. But I've tried to make it super affordable for you guys. So $397 times 4. So once you fill out the application, and again, you just have to go to heatherchauvin.com/intensive. Once you fill out the application, I'll personally respond and give you the link to register. And then you could just click on that. You can also pay in full. Do I have it here? You can also pay in full. And for those of you who apply before November 1st, I will give you a quick action bonus promo code that will last for about 48 hours. And if you decide to pay in full, which will be $1,500, then you will get $200 off. Yes, so Jesse, the payment plan is right here. So it's $397 times 4. That's the payment plan. Perfect. Oh, geez. Now I'm going all over the place. So if you decide that this is something that you want to do, then head on over to heatherchauvin.com/intensive. If you fill out the application before November 1st and you're ready to go, because remember our first one is November 9th, then you're going to be eligible for the quick action bonus if you pay in full, and you'll get the $200 off. Clearly, I can't go. Okay. So then people will say to me, I can't afford it. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. My husband all these excuses that we create, right? So when I do this process with people, what I often find is that it saves them money. And they're like, well, how does this actually save money? So I want to ask you, how much money are you spending right now unconsciously trying to cope with the stress? You might be shopping, you might be eating out, you might be eating more, right? Unnecessary spending. When I go through my spending, like line by line by line, and trust me, the first time I did this a few years ago, I wanted to vomit and crap my pants at the same time. It was not enjoyable. Now I like doing it because when I started, my money was in survival mode, or my money cup per se. What I noticed is I was spending money places unconsciously, right? Like just leaking. It was a huge energy leak. I was leaking these things out. And sometimes when people have businesses, they're overspending in places, or they're not focused on revenue generating activities. So I'll be able to support you with that as well through this program. And in your life, right? You're like, well, wouldn't it be nice if I could make more money, but I can't get my personal crap together. So once that's organized, then you have the space to generate more money. Yes, and that's kind of what I just said, making more money. So focused on the revenue generating activities in your business. So if you have more energy and have more time and feel fuller and your life is more organized, then you can work on that as well. Going to save your sanity. I used to be a therapist. I'm a huge advocate for therapy. And I say, go for it, love it up, do it, right? But you don't go to your dentist and say, my foot is broken. That's all I have to say. You do not go to your dentist and say, my foot is broken. They're like, well, I can't help you, right? That's not what I specialize in. So how many times have you gone to therapy to deal with the stress and talk about the problem without a solution or a plan to solve the problem? So I say it takes a village, right? We need to get a lot of support and help around us, but sometimes we isolate ourselves and then we stay stuck in this old mindset of like, how can I? So this is about creating a plan and specific action steps and accountability to help you get out of where you want to be. So that way you're not just talking about the problem and complaining. You're saying, oh my gosh, now I have a solution to my problem and specific action steps to get to where I want to be. Does this make sense, guys? Just let me know. What about saving your relationships? Like this is like the big elephant in the room, right? As I said, when I started my business, Mom is in Control was truly about helping you feel successful as a mother, helping you feel like you're not failing and really understanding your children's behavior. And so when you're sitting there going, I am so overwhelmed, I have no energy, I feel like I don't have any time, I don't know how to manage all of this. How does that affect your marriage? How does that affect your parenting? So understand you can prioritize these things. You can prioritize these people in your life, but how can we if we don't have a plan or solution? Lastly, I know I always tell people this. Sometimes I've told people, which is very like bold of me to say, but they're like, I just can't, Heather. I can't do this. And I say, it's a lot cheaper than a funeral. And that's what I had to get to in my life where I was like, I can't. I have these kids. I have this business. I have my husband. I just felt so overwhelmed and I needed that person to take a stand for me. And I'm that person because I just won't. I'm like, you got this. You're here. There's a reason why. And even if you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, just know it's 100% possible. And it wasn't until my health crisis that I realized health is our number one priority. And it doesn't have to be physical health. It could be mental health. It could be emotional health. It could be spiritual health. So how much is your health worth to you? All right, ladies. You are freaking rock stars. Thank you so much for being here. I will be sending out this replay. So obviously you're here because you've registered so you can watch it again and again and again and take, you can take some notes. You can take some, what can you take? You can take some notes. Head on over to my website. You can go to heatherchauvin.com, check out the TED Talk, listen to the podcast, The Mom is in Control. I've just been talking for too long. The Mom is in Control podcast, but I look forward to reading your application. So head on over to heatherchauvet.com/intensive. And I'm excited to dive deeper with you guys. And even if you're like, I don't know if it's a good fit for me, just post that on the application. All right, ladies, talk soon. Thank you. Thanks, guys.